So the values as a very, very important piece of code, you need to understand that often it's a left brain or a frontal lobe, back of brain proposition that people will come up with the right answer. However, when they make decisions, those decisions will be completely out of line with what they have stated their values are, which brings about incongruence, which destroys trust. So keep that in mind, though. So what we're trying always to do, though, is help people really think through what is it that our values really represent. What is really a priority to us here? Often, I hate to say it, but finance is very, very prominent in that. Not that people will admit it, because often it's not politically correct to say it, but often it's lurking in the shadows there. Let's talk about mission statements now, because okay, what do we value? What's a priority to us? A very important part of the code. But what is our mission is very, very important. Now, a mission, and you can see this in the slide, and I think it may be in the manual. I don't have the manual in front of me at the moment. But a mission is made up of several things, and that is, what is your purpose? Why do you exist, in other words? Plus, what's the result or benefit to a particular beneficiary? So, in other words, we exist to provide this result to this particular beneficiary. Good mission statements should be short and concise. Somebody once said, I think it was Peter Drucker, who said they ought to fit on a t-shirt, basically. Okay? It's not a motto. It is a tool of leadership that you as the leader, or the people that you coach, constantly reminding the people that you serve, this is our mission. It defines what we do. Some ways, almost more importantly, it defines what we do not do. This is our mission. We do this. We don't do that. Now, having said that, I know a lot of churches, the mission statements are almost interchangeable. To know Him and to make Him known, to do kingdom work or whatever. And those mission statements tend not to be particularly helpful because they're so broad, although they're basically mottos. To know Him and to make Him known is a motto. It's really not a mission statement. It doesn't tell you what you do and what you don't do. Particularly, it does in a very general, generic sense, but not really. Let me give you some examples. I think we have it on the slide here as some mission statements. We work with the U.S. Army, a lot of their top generals about 10 years ago. Their mission statement is to fight and win the nation's wars. That's the mission statement of the U.S. Army. Okay, it tells you what we do and who's the beneficiary, the nation, and what's the result? We win. That's their mission statement. Here's another one. Let's see if you can guess which one this is. It's on the slide there. To make people happy. You know what that mission statement is? Yeah, that's Walt Disney. Yeah, that's the Disney Corporation. That's their mission statement. This next one, to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. You know what that one? Whose that is? That's Starbucks. That's their mission statement. They're telling you what we do and what we don't do. Here's a church we work with. To preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in His name without discrimination. Okay, that's not a bad one, actually, because they're beginning to bring it down a little more specifically as to who they are actually serving. Now I'm going to show you a series of slides here that aren't in your manual, but it's a church that is near where I am. It's a mega church, actually. It's got about 20,000 people go to this church. It's called McLean Bible Church. The interesting thing about them, because people often push back when we start talking about specific beneficiaries or who are you actually targeting. And people tell us over and over again in all church traditions, well, everybody. Well, as they say, as the saying goes, if you shoot at everything, you hit nothing. Who is it that you're actually targeting? Southwest Airlines is a good example of that. Do you know who Southwest Airlines actually targets? At least they used to. I'm not sure if they may have changed on this. They target housewives. The reason they target housewives is because they see themselves, apart from Delta or United or American, as an airline that would appeal to families. In fact, they don't see themselves competing with United Airlines. They see themselves competing with the automobile. So in other words, if a family is thinking about going from Washington, D.C. to Nashville, they're going to think economically, what is the best way to do it? So Southwest decided, well, if we can do that economically, we'll be able to build our business that way, which obviously they have very successfully. But who makes the decisions often in a family? It's the wives that make the decisions usually. So they decided they would target, and so most of their advertising in the past anyway was directed at housewives. Now, if you're not a housewife, do they say you can't get on our plane? Of course not. But they do have a targeted audience. Now, let me tell you one of the targets of McLean Bible Church. The pastor, Lon Solomon, there has been the pastor there for many years now. Lon had a very high needs, challenged daughter. He still does, actually. And they decided that one of their target audiences was families who had kids with high needs. And they started this thing 16 years ago with 4 kids in one room, okay? But they decided that this is a target part of our mission. Did that mean that they said to people who didn't have high needs kids, you couldn't come to our church? Hardly. They have 20,000 that go there. But this was going to be a target. So this becomes part of their mission. Today, they have a multifaceted ministry serving over 500 families annually, okay? And they've set up this thing called Jill's House, which is designed to provide short-term overnight respite care for children with intellectual disabilities. Okay, it's a beautiful house that's on their church campus there in McLean, Virginia, outside of Washington. The interesting thing, I don't know if you knew this, but if you have a high needs kid, you know what it costs for you and your spouse to go out for a night dinner? It's going to be between $600 and $1,000. Because you can't just have a babysitter come in. You have a special babysitter come in with special skills to do that. And the number starts rising, as you can imagine. You're not going to pay them $5 an hour or 10 or whatever they pay babysitters these days. You're going to pay them massive amounts. So what you have is people with high needs kids, which already presents a lot of pressure on a family, who the couple themselves can't even get away themselves. So you find couples that are in distress and all of that. McLean Bible set up this ministry for this. So that's what this is all about. And that was part of their mission as they started to think, okay, a target audience is families with high need kids, and this is what we're going to do to set it up. So they set this whole ministry up, and this becomes part of their mission. It's also very much part of their code, as you can imagine. So people with high needs within that community look to McLean Bible, and as you can imagine, it's incredible for outreach too within that community. My son goes to a church where they bought the Budweiser distribution plant, which is a big flat building with no windows in it, but it's huge under one roof. And this is in Chantilly, Virginia. And what they've done there is they've turned it all into different indoor playing fields. They have, I think they have 2 or 3 soccer fields in there. They have basketball courts in there. But they saw that as a community center for a service to the community and outreach to the community. That's very much a part of their mission. So this is how mission statements that really start to work actually work. One of the gentlemen who's a minister who now is on our consulting staff, he was a lead pastor at a Presbyterian church down in Richmond that had 40 acres, and they had turned all of that into playing fields again too. And they actually ran for the county all of the soccer and football leagues, most of them met there because they had all this land. So they decided that's what they would use that for. That's how mission works. It isn't just we do everything for everybody, because if you do everything for everybody in your mission, I'll guarantee you do nothing for nobody, probably. Oh, that's extreme, but your danger is not hitting a particular population. The Richmond Church, they were looking for young families, obviously. The McLean Bible folks were looking with people with high needs kids. Okay, I worked with a church down in Florida that had a huge population of single moms in it. They decided that would be a target population for them. Did that mean if you were not a single mom, you couldn't come to the church? Of course not. But they were going to allocate, remember, resources finite, they were going to allocate resources to the particular needs that single moms have. That's how a mission statement starts to work. And as you sit down with your vestry then to say, this is a target audience, this is a priority that we've set, this is what we really think needs to happen here, that's how these things work and start working together. Now, again, remember, we're talking about code. So if you're moving into a situation in a church that they will have an established code unless you founded that church, and some of you might. If you found the church, then I want you to be very, very intentional in setting that code in place. A lot of people aren't. They just figure, okay, we'll have church on Sunday morning at 11 and, do all the other churchy kind of stuff, as opposed to saying, okay, why are we here? Why do we exist? Who is our primary focus? How do we allocate resources? What is it we're actually trying to do here? To what population? If you can get specific about that, then you can begin to align your resources around a specific direction, a specific mission, and then begin to actually organize your code a lot better in that regard. So it becomes very, very important in your world to think about what the code is, think about what the values are, the difference between the stated values and the decision-making values. Hopefully they're aligned, but if they're not, we have problems. What's the mission? And then next, what is the vision? Where do you see yourself going? The word vision is a looking kind of a word, and it should be. Vision is focused outward as to where you see yourself going in the future. It sets a destination, which then begins again to help you organize your resources, your finite resources, to get you to that destination, given what your values are and given what your mission is. Okay? So the values help you set priorities. The mission tells you why you're there and what you're doing and to who and what you don't do. And then the vision says, okay, in the next 5 years, or whatever the time frame that you give, maybe 2 years, what is the actual destination that we want to arrive at to, in that time frame, be prosecuting our mission effectively and authentically? Okay, that's how vision works. And then the last piece of that, of course, is strategy. How do we actually get to that place where we have already said we want to be at? Okay, so these are the pieces then of code that are much more visible, if you would say, much more consciously mediated. The other parts that I was telling you about, the mythic parts, the story parts, the hero parts, the conflict parts, those are much more embedded. Even the architecture, by the way, you can look at a church and get some sense of code just by the way. I mean, does the church look like it, just landed, off of Mars, or does it look like it belongs in Williamsburg, or, is it hard to even distinguish it as a church? Does it look more like a warehouse, or blah, 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 all the different things. In fact, my drive home every evening is about 5 miles, and I pass about 6 churches, and they all have very different architecture as to what they look like. which is expressing to a degree at least a piece of what the code is.